Place a pteranodon beside an ordinary pigeon and ask which one is a dinosaur. The answer seems backwards. The giant crested reptile is not a dinosaur. The pigeon is. That single comparison exposes one of the most persistent mistakes in prehistoric life. Pterosaurs flew above dinosaurs, lived through much of the same age, and were close relatives of dinosaurs. But they occupied a different branch of the reptile family tree. So what actually separates a pterosaur from a dinosaur? It is not the ability to fly. Birds prove that dinosaurs can fly. It is not the presence of scales, claws, a long skull, or an enormous body. Those features appear across many unrelated groups. The real answer is ancestry, revealed through details in the skeleton. The word dinosaur is not a label for every large or frightening animal from the distant past. It names one specific evolutionary group called Dinosauria. That group includes animals as different as Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Tyrannosaurus, long-necked sauropods, and modern birds. However strange their bodies became, all of them belong to branches descending from the earliest dinosaurs. Pterosaurs belong to another branch. Both groups sit within a larger reptile family called the archosaurs. That family also includes crocodilians and their extinct relatives. Deep in the Triassic period, the archosaur tree divided into a crocodile line branch and a bird line branch. Dinosaurs and pterosaurs both emerged from the bird line side, making them closer to each other than either was to lizards. But before the first recognizable dinosaurs and pterosaurs appeared, their lineages had already separated. That distinction matters. Pterosaurs did not evolve from dinosaurs, and dinosaurs did not evolve from pterosaurs. One was not an early version of the other. They were evolutionary cousins, descended from an older common ancestor that was neither a true dinosaur nor a true pterosaur. The exact early history of pterosaurs remains incomplete because the first members of the group already possessed highly specialized flying bodies. There is no long, perfect sequence of fossils showing every stage between a land animal and a pterosaur. Recent anatomical studies have identified small Triassic reptiles, called logopedids, as the closest known relatives of pterosaurs. Features in their skulls, inner ears, limbs, and other bones help narrow the gap. But logopedids were not dinosaurs turning into pterosaurs. They belonged near the base of the separate pterosaur line. The dinosaur line developed its own recognizable combination of skeletal features. Among the most famous is an open hip socket, where the thigh bone meets the pelvis. Together with changes elsewhere in the hips and legs, this helped place the hind limbs beneath the body. Early dinosaurs therefore stood differently from sprawling reptiles such as modern lizards. Paleontologists do not classify an animal from that one feature alone, but the complete pattern of bones identifies a dinosaur branch that pterosaurs never joined. Pterosaurs carried a different anatomical signature, and the clearest evidence is written across the wing. Imagine spreading out your arm, then extending your fourth finger until it becomes longer than the rest of the arm. In a pterosaur, that enormous finger forms the main outer support for a flexible wing membrane. The membrane stretched from the side of the body across the arm and along the wing finger. In most pterosaurs, the three smaller fingers remained separate and ended in claws. A special wrist bone, called the pteroid, helped support the front section of the membrane. This was not a crude sheet of loose skin. Exceptional fossils preserve membranes reinforced by closely packed internal fibers. Those tissues helped control the shape and tension of the wing. Combined with long forelimbs, powerful flight muscles, and light, often air-filled bones, the result was a flight system unlike that of any living animal. A bird wing is built on another plan. Birds are theropod dinosaurs, and their wings are modified dinosaur forelimbs. Their aerodynamic surface is formed mainly by large flight feathers, attached along the arm and hand. The fingers became reduced and fused during bird evolution, rather than producing one gigantic finger to hold a membrane. Pterosaurs and birds both solve the challenge of powered flight, but they reach that solution independently. Bats provide a third experiment. Their membranes are stretched across several greatly lengthened fingers. A pterosaur wing, a bird wing, and a bat wing can all generate lift, yet their internal frameworks reveal three separate evolutionary histories. Wings tell us what the animals could do. Bones tell us where they came from. The same pterosaur hands that supported flight also left evidence on the ground. Fossil trackways preserve both handprints and footprints, demonstrating that at least many pterosaurs normally walked on all four limbs. With the wings folded, the small clawed fingers touched the ground, while the huge wing finger remained lifted and folded along the body. These tracks helped overturn older reconstructions of pterosaurs as helpless creatures that could barely move unless they were airborne. Many later pterosaurs were capable terrestrial walkers. Some giant azhdarchids, including the group containing Quetzalcoatlus, are often reconstructed as foraging across open ground, rather than spending every moment hanging from cliffs or skimming over oceans. The exact behavior of any species must still be inferred from its anatomy, environment, and fossils. But pterosaurs were not simply dinosaur-shaped animals with wings attached. Their entire bodies were organized around a distinctive combination of flight and four-limbed movement. Part of the confusion comes from the word pterodactyl. Pterodactylus is a particular genus of small pterosaur known from late Jurassic limestone in Germany. Beautiful fossils from the Solmhofen region preserve its delicate skeleton in remarkable detail. The name means wing finger, a reference to its most obvious adaptation. Over time, pterodactyl became a popular nickname for almost any pterosaur, including animals such as Pteranodon and Quetzalcoatlus. Scientifically, pterosaur is the correct name for the entire group, and that group was far more diverse than the familiar crested silhouette. Pterosaurs first appear in the fossil record during the late Triassic, roughly 230 million years ago. They survived until the mass extinction 66 million years ago, giving them more than 150 million years to diversify. Some were comparable in size to small birds. The largest had wingspans around 10 meters, wider than many light aircraft. Their skulls reveal equally dramatic variety. Some had mouths filled with sharp teeth, while others had long, toothless beaks. Certain species carried tall crests, although the colors and display functions of those structures are usually uncertain. Some pterosaurs probably caught fish or other aquatic prey. Others ate small land animals, insects, or hard-shelled food. Filter feeding forms evolved closely packed teeth that created a comb-like feeding apparatus. Pterosaur was not one lifestyle. It was an entire radiation of flying reptiles. They were also the first vertebrates known to achieve powered flight. Insects had entered the air much earlier, and other vertebrates had evolved ways to glide. Pterosaurs went further. They generated lift and thrust by flapping wings, opening the skies to animals with backbones before birds or bats appeared. Calling them flying dinosaurs may sound like a harmless shortcut, but it hides that achievement. It makes pterosaurs seem like an unusual department inside dinosaur evolution, when they were actually an independent experiment. During the Mesozoic era, two separate archosaur branches eventually produced powered flyers. One gave rise to feathered dinosaurs and birds. The other produced membrane-winged pterosaurs. Their endings were different too. At the close of the Cretaceous, every known pterosaur lineage disappeared during the same global extinction that eliminated all non-avian dinosaurs. One branch of small feathered dinosaurs survived, which is why birds remain around us today. There are living dinosaurs in parks, gardens, and city streets. There are no living pterosaurs. So return to that opening comparison. Pteranodon looks like the perfect flying dinosaur, while a pigeon seems ordinary and modern. The fossils reverse that impression. The pigeon carries the dinosaur lineage inside its skeleton. Pteranodon belonged to a separate and completely extinct branch. Pterosaurs were not dinosaurs. They do not need to be. Their stretched wing fingers, reinforced membranes, quadrupedal tracks, strange skulls, and enormous range of forms reveal something more interesting than a mislabeled dinosaur. They reveal a second archosaur conquest of the sky, built from a body plan evolution never produced again.